This is the Black Shark 3, and with it comes with updated list of specs and a few differences between this iteration and the previous generations of the Black Shark smartphones. And just to quickly clarify with you, Black Shark is not owned by Xiaomi, but it is funded by Xiaomi. So whoever is calling this the Xiaomi Black Shark 3 is just totally wrong. Anyway, should you buy this phone? Let's take a look in this review. The new Black Shark 3 comes with a rather interesting design, I would say. As you can see here, it still has a very gamery look to it, and it has these two rounded triangle shaped things, which I'll get into later. And overall build quality of this phone is just a very typical gaming smartphone kind of deal, because you get a very slippery piece of glass, and also X-shaped kind of thing here is actually a piece of metal that extends from the mid-frame of the phone, which I think is rather interesting. And to provide you a little bit of protection is this strange looking case, which looks like SpongeBob's SquarePants. So back to the two rounded triangles. At the top here, this rounded triangle is for the camera array, and at the bottom here are 4 pogo pins for you to snap on whatever accessories that Black Shark has. And up until today, there's only one accessory that is compatible with this accessory pad right here, which is the 18-watt magnetic charger. So when you snap in the charger, you can plug it into the charger instead, and then you snap on the entire contraption, and then you don't have to plug in your USB port at the bottom. However, Black Shark did not include the charger inside the box itself, so if you do really want to use that, you have to buy it separately. And remember, that magnetic charger is the only accessory that is compatible with this pogo pin. And just like many other gaming phones in the market right here, we do have a stereo front-facing speaker, which is excellent. But Black Shark did not put symmetrical speakers, so the earpiece speaker is always softer than the bottom speaker right here. So it always sounds a bit imbalanced, as the sound from this side is always louder and clearer than the left side, which is kind of weird, and I do hope that Black Shark will improve on this, because imagine when you're playing game, but somehow you just can't really hear the left side properly, but the right side is just too damn clear. And before we get into the gaming part of the Black Shark 3, let's talk a bit about specs, because this phone does come with a 6.6-inch AMOLED display with 90Hz refresh rate, the latest Snapdragon 865 chipset with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of internal storage. But remember, there's no microSD card for expansion. And now the Black Shark 3 is also using Joy UI, which is essentially just MIUI but ported over with a few gaming features added on top of it by Black Shark. And yeah, the overall user experience in terms of software is a bit lackluster. As you can see here, there's a dedicated button on the phone. It is a push button that shifts you into something called Shark Space, which is essentially just the ROG Phone 2's Armoury Crate, but it is triggered by hardware instead. And to exit the Shark Space, you need to push it back out. So yeah, I'm not too sure how long this button will last. If you get stuck in Shark Space, then essentially this truly becomes a gaming only phone. Yeah. And inside Shark Space 3.0, you can see that the whole UI is also very similar to the ROG Phone 2's Armoury Crate, because it uses this kind of iTunes cover flow design, which you can just swipe across all of your games. But if you want to quickly navigate your games, you can toggle it into list view. But in list view, you do get some compromises, like you cannot configure your in-game settings through the whole Shark Space, because you can only configure them when you are in this iTunes CoverFlow UI by hitting the button called Game Configuration at the bottom. And in this menu here, you can force the game to run at 90Hz or just 60Hz, or intelligently switch between 60 and 90 depending on the game supports it or not. But unlike other gaming smartphones, the Black Shark 3 does not come with any triggers. So what Black Shark does to compensate that is to include a pressure sensitive screen. So when you enter a game and you swipe in from any of the corners at the top there, you get something called Master Control, and from here, the pressure sensitivity of the screen can be treated as a trigger. So you can set it to be like, it will be split in half on the screen, by the way. So if you hit harder on the left side of the screen, you can trigger some command on the screen itself, or you can just hold it harder on the right side to trigger some command. it is useful for some games like let's just say COD Mobile or PUBG Mobile. But in terms of its effectiveness, I'm not too sure, because when you press harder on the screen, the finger tends to slide around. So it is not that easy to control compared to just having usual triggers. And what about the battery life of the Black Shark 3? Well, this phone comes with a 4720 mAh battery, which can last for about 16 hours in our usual battery life test in 60Hz. And when we bump it up to 90Hz, the battery life gets cut down to about 14 hours, which is just kind of sad to see that the GPU technology in phones is still not really that efficient to handle high refresh rates. But the Black Shark 3, it does come with a 65-watt charger, and that is amazing because the engineering that goes into this phone is by chopping the battery into two parts, so you can parallelly charge both batteries at the same time. And the result is you can charge from 15 to 100% in only half an hour. That is amazing! But hey, we still need to talk about those cameras, right? Because this is still a phone. So at the back here, we do get two usable cameras, one main 64MP camera and then another ultra-wide angle camera. And the pictures that come out of it is looking kind of okay. It's a bit darker compared to what I would personally prefer. But one thing I want to highlight is the HDR mode, because when you turn on the HDR mode, the white balance and the clear skies color just gets shifted way too much and it looks very unrealistic, I guess. And for the ultra-wide angle camera, well, the whole picture just tends to get too fuzzy and it's just, the details are gone, that's it. So at the end of the day, the Black Shark 3 at the price of 2,799 ringgit, it is a gaming smartphone with a few compromises, particularly the lacking triggers and also unrefined software, but you do get the master control, which is sort of a compensation for the missing trigger, but it depends on you personally on how you would implement and use that feature. And I would suggest you to wait for the Black Shark 3 Pro instead, because obviously the Pro is gonna be much more expensive than this, but I'm not sure how much. But that phone does come with the pop-up trigger buttons, which I am personally very excited to test out that feature as well. Because imagine this, you get physical tactile triggers on a phone, which is unheard of. So yeah, I recommend you to hold off your purchase until the Black Shark 3 Pro comes out and then make your judgment if you want to buy the Black Shark 3 or the Black Shark 3 Pro. Or maybe at that time comes, maybe the ROG Phone 3 instead. So yeah, exciting times ahead for smartphones, and we'll see you in the next video.